Welcome to Armchair Expert, Experts on Expert. Round 2 of Superman Week.
Yes.
We have the esteemed filmmaker James Gunn on. He's a producer, a screenwriter, a musician, and the co-CEO of DC Studios. He's made the best superhero movies. I mean, get real. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Groot.
Groot.
Shout out Groot.
The Suicide Squad, Peacemaker, Slither, Super, and now, of course, Superman.
This was a very fun interview.
This was a very fun interview.
I really enjoyed it. And if you stick around, if you watch.
Oh, yeah. If you watch, I don't want to ruin.
We don't want to ruin it.
I'm in a, you'll hear.
There's a visual.
Yeah. Please enjoy James Gunn. We are supported by Audible. Thanks to Audible for being the presenting sponsor of today's episode. We could all use an escape these days, and the best way to do it, Audible. With over 1 million titles in their selection, there's more to imagine with Audible.
He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert.
I saw that there's a tour bus outside.
That's Dax. He calls that Big Brown.
Yeah?
He travels around in that thing.
Really?
Yeah. He'll tell you all about it. He'll be very excited to talk about Big Brown. There's a big surprise for you coming your way.
I wonder what that is.
Wow, everything's normal.
I fucked up the casting so bad. That's what I was hoping you would recognize immediately.
Yeah, Jesus.
This has never happened before.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
It's hard to tell the young Superman story with a 50-year-old actor.
Yeah?
But could that be its own interesting element?
I like this. You're really putting it all on the
We
line.
could do like the rehearsal.
Oh, sure,
my
sure.
God.
So
Yeah.
we could make you small and make a bunch of giant things around you.
Well, I want to be bigger. Well,
I thought you'd be like the 4-year-old Superman.
Oh, that would do that as well.
Yeah.
Like a little rattle. And,
Yeah.
Do you remember in Super Friends, Hall of Justice?
Well, that's actually based on the train station in Cincinnati, the Hall of Justice, from Super Friends.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, they based that on the train station in Cincinnati, and that stayed the sort of model for what the Hall of Justice has been through the years in the comics and other animated shows.
Yeah.
And we shot there for Superman. The group of the nascent Justice League, they aren't quite the Justice League, are in that actual building.
I'm going to be honest. I'm not a superhero person. I didn't read the comics. The one thing I loved is I watched Super Friends every morning before school. And I loved Super Friends. Do you know about Super Friends?
Yeah, you're too young
It's
for
Superman and all of his bros and gals. You got Wonder Woman's in the mix.
Okay.
It's basically the Justice League of America for little kids.
Oh,
that was a Saturday
cute.
morning show back when Saturday morning shows were everything.
Did they invent any characters on that then became big characters?
Wonder Twins.
Yes.
Wonder Twins, Patchy Chief, they've gone on to become in the comics.
And they were called like Junior Friends, the Wonder Twins, and they could activate.
That's right.
They were largely useless. They could work in tandem. One could become any animal, and one could take the shape of any kind of ice. So in the shape
do you
of
remember
a
all? I mean, do you remember all this when you were a
Yes.
child? Because I don't
Yes.
remember. I remember very little of it.
Oh, yeah, this is the only one I really had, so it's really seared in. But yeah, it would be like, she'd be like, I'll be a mastodon, and then you be a bucket of water, and I'll blow the water. You know, it was-
that I remember. I remember Wonder Twins. I just don't remember that they were called Junior Friends. And
in your defense, as I was looking up Super Friends this morning, I was reminded they were like lower tier. They were like probies in a motorcycle gang. They were kind of earning their stripes.
Yeah.
Being any kind of ice, that's a horrible superpower.
Well, he could make people slide around a lot. You'd be shocked how much ice can save the day.
Okay.
Yeah. There's there's an X-Men named Iceman who's pretty popular.
Pretty powerful.
He can make ice things to slide around on. He can shoot
you guys
ice
both
at you.
say sliding a lot, and that seems to be the
sliding's
only
fun.
thing.
Yeah.
Well, it was really...
Okay.
Well, even the strongest person in the world, if they're on ice and can't find purchase. Now, I did get curious. I mean, the Super Friends in Hall of Justice is virtually Avengers. Does it predate Avengers?
Way before.
Okay.
Justice League existed before, most of the Marvel superheroes.
Okay.
All of the Marvel superheroes.
So is DC the first?
DC is the first. Superman's the first superhero. He invented superheroes.
Wow.
Okay.
So Superman was invented in 1938 by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster in Cleveland, Ohio, where we shot Metropolis and Superman.
Okay.
They were two high school kids who created
gosh.
this concept that now is so pervasive in culture throughout the world. We shot in Cleveland because Cleveland has a lot of old Art Deco architecture.
Yeah.
And then we just built up around that. But it has tons of great, beautiful interiors, beautiful exteriors. There's actually a lot of beautiful stuff there. And then we also shot in Cincinnati because that's where the train station is.
Oh, right.
But yeah, there's a place called Terminal Tower, and that's supposedly where I think Joe first imagined Superman jumping over a tall building in a single bound.
Wow.
And that building is prominently featured in our movie.
Cool.
Because he couldn't fly at first, Superman.
He couldn't. He just could leap.
He could leap very far. He was very strong.
Yeah.
I don't think bullets hurt him, but he couldn't shoot beams out of his eyes. Like, they kept adding powers to Superman as time went on.
Yeah, because if you think about the physics of the original premise, which is just he's stronger than everyone.
He's stronger, yeah.
And those physics are known. But when you introduce flying, that still doesn't have any explanation.
No, it's very logical, but yeah.
I mean, he just can, but his strength
Yeah.
wouldn't get you that.
Is it his cape?
no,
It's nothing
no.
to do with the cape. Okay.
I personally like to think, well, okay, what if this was real? So
Yeah.
in the movie, we deal with why are the glasses a good disguise? We actually deal with that because it always bothered me as a child.
Yes.
We deal with, he's strong, but he's not as strong as he was. He's not, punch through a planet like sometimes he gets to be that strong.
Great.
I don't want him to be that strong.
Good. I don't either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
This is a difficult thing with Superman fans. Most people, when they say why do they like Batman more than Superman, it's because Superman is just too powerful.
It's like a cop
There's
out.
no stakes. But a lot of Superman fans, not most, but a lot, like the fact that he can beat up God.
He's
like
Zeus.
that's
They want Zeus.
They want the most powerful being in the universe. Not only is it hard to have stakes in a universe where he's the most powerful, it's also difficult to make other heroes mean anything at all.
Yeah.
How much does Green Lantern mean if Superman can punch through his...
So in my 10-year-old mind, the way I had come up with who was top tier apex superhero,
Yeah.
I was like, it has to be Green Lantern because he could just make kryptonite.
Green Lantern can't make different elements. He can make constructs. He can make shapes.
Oh.
He can't make iron. He can't make gold. Metamorpho, however, who is in the movie,
Yeah.
can make elements. He can make anything.
Okay, because there was one episode of Super Friends that was great where it was like a reverse evil world, right? They would go there and there was evil Batman or
Yeah.
evil Superman. And
Yeah.
then Green Lantern had to go fight Superman. That was one of the big episodes.
Oh, and are they they're friends in real life?
They're Justice
they're,
Hall
yeah,
of Justice.
They're best
super
friends.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
super
They're
friends.
super
Excuse me.
duper friends.
Yeah,
They're thick as
yeah,
thieves.
yeah.
They're friends.
Okay, now Cleveland, for folks who haven't been, now coming from Detroit, it's a sister city,
Yeah.
and especially in its arc.
Yeah. Yes.
And
yeah.
you too from St. Louis, I would put, there's like a handful of these formerly robust industry centers.
St. Louis is the only city in the United States, I believe, that it's a big city where its population is smaller than it was in 1900.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I think St. Louis is a small city in a huge metropolitan area. So the metropolitan area is over 2 million. But the city itself, I would imagine, is well under a million, is my guess. Yeah.
And I presume you were in a suburb there?
I lived in a place, I grew up in a place called Manchester, Missouri, which was rural when I was young. I had, soybean fields and horses that lived behind me and stuff like that. But as time went on, it became super suburbia, which it is now.
And your dad was a lawyer? Or
My
is
dad was a lawyer, yeah.
What
yeah.
type of lawyer?
He did corporate law, but mostly dealt with health. So he dealt with like big hospitals and things like that.
And you're one of 6 kids?
One of 6 kids, yeah.
Wow.
And what order are you
6
in?
kids, and I'm number 1.
Oh.
6 kids in 7 years.
Ooh.
Your
And my
mo-
little sister passed away, so there's actually 7 of us.
Oh,
7
wow.
years.
How old
Oh
was
my
she when she passed
gosh.
away?
But he was just born. Yeah,
Oh.
just born.
Yeah, not that there's any good version of
Yeah,
it,
it's
but that
all
beats
horrible.
2.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So beats it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a winner.
Yeah. It's a pure
You
victory.
lucked out.
So, wow, Mom went back to back to back to back.
Oh, my
This is very
God.
Irish of you.
Oh
You
yeah,
guys really
her womb just fell out
Smoke
after my
billowing
brother
out,
Sean. Yeah, it just
Talk
was
about
gone.
a superhero. My God.
there should be super
Jeez.
womb.
I don't remember
Yeah,
my mother.
for
Like she
sure.
was just always taking care of a baby.
Yeah.
This is true. I remember my siblings, my friends. We kind of got to do whatever we wanted to do.
Yeah.
I don't really remember my parents very much because my dad was always working. He
Yeah.
was always gone. And my mother was just always taking care of babies or cleaning. My neighbors who lived next door to us for 30-something years never saw my mom without fully made up, all ready to go.
wow.
So she's like an ideal housewife.
6 kids, never anything out of dogs.
Wow.
6 kids, never anything on the floor, ever. Like everything
That's impossible.
completely clean.
In its place.
Yeah.
Did you, how have you now matured into an adult? Have you taken on that? Or are you messy?
I'm definitely not like that, though. I'm definitely not like my mother.
And as the oldest, were you taking on the role of like defending the little brothers at school, or what was?
We did that.
You
Yeah,
did
we
it?
all did that, though. My family was tight. So,
Okay.
yeah, for sure. If somebody picked on my little brother, they get beat up.
Yeah. How many boys?
5 boys, 1 girl.
Yeah, that's too many boys.
That's a lot
Where's
of
the girl
boys.
in there?
She's in the middle. She's number 3. Her life was hell.
Oh.
She and I are incredibly close, but we were not nice to her growing
Oh,
up. I mean,
no.
she was like,
How could you?
she was
be?
the outsider. She was,
Well,
and she
it
was
could go-
always so loud and well spoken and powerful that it was difficult. And if you think about the things I'm the most guilty about is just picking on my sister.
Yeah. But it's chicken or the egg. She might have been powerful because she was amongst all these boys and she had to keep up.
I mean, she just always wanted to be a guy. She was always like trying to pee standing up and, all of the stuff that.
I plagued my little sister with this too.
Yeah.
she has 2 older brothers as well.
But again, what the result was is she was leaving someone's house and she saw a man starting a fire on the side of the road up by the Getty Center.
Uh-huh.
And she had her boyfriend call the police, and then she wanted to make sure he didn't get away. And then she tackled the guy and held the guy while the police
You
arrived.
saved all of Los Angeles by picking on your
I
sister.
think by modeling
Yeah.
such toxic masculine attributes, I think I may have saved at least a swath.
of
God,
Los
And if the
Thank you.
Getty's
That's
Foundation
fantastic.
wanted to thank me
You're
with
a hero.
$100 million, they should. But what was the vibe? I mean, I know ultimately we get into movies and stuff, but what kind of group of boys were you? Because in my town, I drive Monica crazy with this ad nauseum, but a group of 5 boys, it was going to be the most predictable thing ever, which is like they were going to get crazier as they got younger. And in my town, anytime there were 5 boys, it was like they were constantly fighting somebody. Someone had pissed someone off. What was the
Was
vibe?
it rough and tumble?
I I grew up in a place where there were fights. That was always a part of something, but that wasn't our vibe. I mean, we were all like, I was never really a sports kid. My brothers all played sports. I was like just always like an artist and played music and, was, theater. And so
You were
I was a
alternative.
punk rock kid.
Mm-hmm.
I heard the Sex Pistols when I saw them on TV when I was 11 years old, and it fucking fucked me up. It was so cool.
What about it?
It was like nothing I had ever seen before in my entire life. It was like, the only way I remember things visually, even though they're not the way they are. And totally aside, I was talking to Ryan Coogler the other day, and I was like, we were talking about how great the Black Panther premiere was. And I was like, yeah, I said, and I was with all his friends who weren't there at the time. And I said, yeah, I know this isn't the way it happened, but the way in my memory it happened was that people were so happy that they were literally doing, somersaults and flipping around in the aisles.
Sure.
That's really what I remember.
You
That's not
have that-
true.
wow.
It's like I remember the vibe, and then I remember I visually turn it into something else. So when I saw the Sex Pistols, it was like seeing the edge of the horizon roll down to see a completely other planet that I didn't know existed right in front of me, another world. I mean, this.
Well, Sid Vicious is like he's cut up. He's bleeding a lot of the times he performs. He's got some safety pins in his lips and in his chin. Like you're seeing guys with some body modification.
Yeah, I mean, just the rage of Johnny Rotten as he sang, but also like just there was the crowd, yes, and the safety pins and people, and the anarchy symbols, and it was not something I liked. I was kind of scared by it.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I was totally intrigued, and I couldn't stop thinking about it.
Huh.
Yeah, there's overlap between horror movies and early punk rock.
Yeah.
These were like post-apocalyptic figures that were in real life.
Yeah, it really wasn't immediately. It was just like I couldn't get it out of my head. And then eventually I bought the Sex Pistols LP. And, it was like listening. It was like, I was a very like little Roman Catholic kid. And it was like doing, because he's like, the very first, I am the Antichrist. I am, anarchist. And it was like doing something really bad.
Yeah.
It was like looking at porn almost, except for like your angry little rebellious soul. Yeah. And so, that changed everything. And so all the kids I started hanging out with were the punk rock kids. All the music I listened to was the punk rock and the early new wave stuff. And, and that became my identity. That's the way I dressed. I wore the ripped up T-shirts. I, shaved the sides of my head.
I did it, I guess, presumably 9 years after you or 8 years after you. It was very, like people were very into my look.
It was absolutely not acceptable.
Okay, it was rejected.
So I went to an all-boys Jesuit competitive high school in St. Louis, and there was me and my friends. The fact that we existed was crazy. And so we knew every other, punk or new wave kid in the city. We were all friends. We had all somehow gotten there through media into being the small group of people in St. Louis. So on weekends, it was great because I felt like a king.
Yeah, would you go to shows?
Go to shows, there was like a dance club called the Animal House that had 3 floors, and on the top floor was all the black music.
Yeah.
The middle floor was the major like cover bands that were playing like Night Ranger and shit.
Yeah.
And then on the lower level was like our place, like it was all the alternative. So sometimes we'd go up to the top floor, but we were rarely ever in the middle floor because rap was also starting around that time. So I was into that as well. So. And I was into Prince, and I once got into an argument with my dad over Christmas about Michael Jackson and Prince that was so angry that we almost came to blows.
Is it too mainstream? It was too mainstream?
It was
too happy?
It was too mainstream.
I like Prince's music better. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't like his music that much. It's not about anything other than it's okay. Billie Jean is okay. The Off the Wall stuff is better. I like Jackson 5.
Yeah.
But I like Prince way better.
Well, the irony was that Prince was much scarier to parents because he was much more overtly sexual.
Yeah.
I mean, extremely sexual.
This is like a Miley Cyrus.
His stuff was dirty.
I loved it.
Sister is about having sex with his sister overtly.
Yes.
God, the irony.
Now, the irony, though, that Michael Jackson was the one that we all needed to be fucking worried about. And Prince was largely not fucking because he was an opiate addict.
Yeah.
Don't sue me, estate.
Yeah, I mean, word is.
Yeah.
But I saw Prince on the Purple Rain tour, 10th row in Kiel Auditorium in St. Louis. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I loved him.
Now back to the being drawn to the Sex Pistols in the scary way. You're also then obsessed with horror movies. So are you the type that it might be counterintuitive, like you might scare easily, but then your response to being scared is, I need to, and here's my question. Is it a stubbornness, like I need to not be afraid of that thing? Or is it just I like the feeling?
No, I think there was something I liked about it as well as being scared. And I actually don't. I think my attraction to horror movies was different.
Okay, what was that?
I think I liked the monsters. So like when I fell in love with horror movies, I was very young. And the greatest movie ever to me was Abbott and Costello versus Frankenstein because it had monsters and Abbott and Costello. Yeah. So it was funny and still is a movie that I think is great. But I fell in love with the monsters. I liked, Godzilla, and I liked Frankenstein and the werewolf and Creature from the Black Lagoon. And I think I related to those monsters in a certain way.
Right.
I think I felt outside. So I don't think it was 100% like I like being scared. I did like being scared. But I think I was attracted to monsters, and I liked monsters. And that's the thing I've kept with me more than a love of being horrified or scared. I have a very difficult time being scared in a movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I love monsters and creatures and,
Outcasts.
animals. Yeah.
Yeah, you're mixing animals and outcasts is kind of a dream for you.
Yes.
Overlap.
Yeah, I love animals. I love the innocence of animals. I love
They're ever present in your work.
the humor. Yeah.
Are you attracted to human monsters, like villain, like the most like complicated, stories of
No, I'm attracted to monsters that are actually
that are real monsters.
physical monsters. I
Wow.
don't care about Jeffrey Dahmer
Okay,
or something.
you're
I
not.
don't like that. He's a piece of shit.
I'm the opposite.
Yeah, you know what's funny is he's an outcast, but I'm not going to include him as an outcast.
You
You don't want him in the
he- I mean,
they are
circle.
definitely
he
outcasts.
eats other outcasts.
How do you get your hands on a 8mm camera?
I remember getting it. I can't remember where I got it from. I had two of them. I had a silent one, and then I had a sound one. The sound ones they're actually pretty difficult to
Does it
edit
record the
with.
audio on the film strip?
Yeah, it records the audio on the film strip. And so when you edit, like, this is so fucking film, but like, so if the film frames are like this, so you have to cut with a splicer, you got to cut it.
Yeah.
But the film strip goes 8 frames above where the picture is, because the sound goes through before the picture does. So I'd have to fucking cut.
Oh, and
then
align
cut
it?
up and then put
Oh,
it up
wow.
onto the thing when you make
And then you
a
tape that
movie.
entire long fins?
That's right.
Fuck
And
that.
cut that up.
You were
and tape
doing that
up.
stuff?
Yeah.
You were editing it with a little cutter?
Little splicer and a little machine that you watch the stuff go through.
Yeah.
Oh, fun.
Cut it
That
like
must have gotten the girls so horny that you
Oh,
were
they
doing
loved it. Let me tell you. But I did play in bands, so I was all right.
When do you start in, what's it called? The Idiot? No, the Icon.
The Idiots.
The Icon. The Icon.
I don't start till the Icons until I was, right out of high school.
You were the lead singer of that band, but were you also playing an instrument?
No,
No,
I was always
singing.
singing. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you have a good singing voice?
No.
You don't.
No,
Are
they
you
can go listen to the
being-
icons.
But none of our heroes
People
did.
go listen to the icons on Spotify and decide for
Oh,
themselves. But
ooh.
like, it wasn't terrible. But I think the reason at the end of the day why I stopped playing music was because I really wanted to be the best at something,
Yes.
and
that-
I felt like I couldn't.
right. You didn't
I
have that.
couldn't be the best.
Yeah.
you know.
Were you a little saddened by that?
Oh yeah,
That's what you wanted to be as a rock star, is to be
1,000
Johnny Lydon.
1,000%.
Yeah. Okay, so you go to the University of St. Louis.
Well, I go to Loyola Marymount University first.
Here.
Yes, so I played music. I
That's nice.
played with people here.
Yeah, here.
I went to film school here.
For 2 years.
I got kind of pushed out after about a year and a half.
Okay.
I had big drug issues.
Great. That's what I
I
was
know
gonna-
you're sober. Yeah. So it's like,
Are you sober?
I've been sober since I've been 19 years old.
Congrats.
Not only am I sober since I've been 19 years old, I got sober, then my dad got sober, then my brother got sober, then my other brother got sober. My next door neighbor, who is like a brother to us, got sober, and none of us ever relapsed.
You infected in the best way.
Yeah. I did have 2 years of doing Ambien that really kind of fucked me up.
Yeah.
Because I am chemically dependent. And so it's an iffy time
Yes.
because I took it, every night.
Yeah.
And I did fucking weird things.
Yeah, it's a weird
But
drug.
Taking
other
trips to
than-
7-Eleven. Right?
Other than that couple of years, but I've been sober. I've been sober. I
Yeah,
don't-
good
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
you.
Well, as someone who's relapsed, I've come to look at sobriety over like, I don't know, if in 24 years of your life you managed to be sober for 20 of those years,
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
And
if you're an addict.
I was really, I really admired what you did with all that.
Oh,
I'm
thank
trying.
you.
Did we ever meet before?
No, we haven't, but we know
That's
Rosenbaum
weird.
so well that
You're friends with Bradley. You're friends with Rosenbaum.
Yes.
Your friend,
AG.
Lillard. AG, Seth Green, like you've been around. Like you,
I don't know if I have anyone with more mutual friends who I haven't met than you.
Yeah.
This feels like
I
a
went
very
to the
long
Without
time.
a Paddle premiere.
You did?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But maybe the best premiere of all time.
It was
Do you
so
remember
much
it?
fun. I totally remember it because I had so much fun. That's where I met Rosenbaum.
Monica, they flooded the tank and put boats in the
What
water at Paramount.
Oh.
And people watched the premiere.
From boats?
Yeah, it was like a drive-in movie. It was like broadcast on the backdrop.
That's so cool.
And there were fucking boats and shit. That was my very first premiere. It was the first
Oh,
movie I was ever in.
God.
I was like, these are great. I can't wait to see what
Yeah.
comes next. And it never was good like that. But
Yeah,
no, we
I've been-
haven't met.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It is crazy. Okay, so let's get into the drug issue at
Yeah.
Loyola. So what was
Drugs are our
Oh,
favorite
boy.
topic.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I've never really talked about all this, but yeah, I did a lot of drugs.
what was your favorite?
Marijuana.
Okay, great. That's
I smoked a quarter bag of weed a day. I woke up every morning. I fucking, some days I'd be like, oh, please just wait until 10 a.m. to start smoking weed.
Yes.
People talk about how weed's not addictive. I totally fucking don't buy it for a second.
Yeah.
I could not stop smoking weed. I smoked weed all day long, every day.
Yeah.
And would try to fucking, curtail it, and I couldn't do it.
Yes.
And then I did a lot of cocaine,
Okay, that's now we're here to
and a lot of alcohol. And then I tried almost everything else.
Right.
But those were the things I did a lot of.
So I'm gonna be very generalized right now.
Sure.
But like in my experience, people were either weed was their self-medication
Mm-hmm.
or coke was their self-medication. I definitely found that people that were really drawn to weed, I was not as a kid. I did it, of course, but it wasn't my thing. It was way more artistic, way more kids who were in their room playing guitar, kind of more isolation,
Uh-huh.
baseline. Would you say that was true for you?
No.
No,
I was always pretty social.
really social.
Not really social because I have a part of me that goes away. It's a part of me that writes, part of me that would write songs. I used to draw comic books and edit and all those things.
Yeah.
There's a part of me that likes to go away and be in my shell. And then I like to come out and,
Let it rip.
and be with people. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, which is why filmmaking is like, being a writer-director makes a lot of sense. Because that's why I smoked weed and did coke. Like, I
Right.
liked both.
Time to go be social.
Yeah.
Did you find it in college, or were you already doing those drugs
was
in high
alre-
school and stuff like that?
I did a lot of drugs from the time I was very little.
Oh,
so-
you did? Okay.
Yeah, so it wasn't like, I don't know if I did actual cocaine, but I did a lot of like, speed and things like that before college. But I think I did real coke in college. Yeah.
Yeah, in high school, like pills would float around, be like beaners. We have beaners. We
Yeah.
have this. We have
Yeah.
we have Dexedrine. We have
Yeah.
Right.
And I remember taking a lot of pills that were probably just caffeine pills.
Sure.
Because I remember when I took speed for the first time, it was not the same thing. And also I got my glands swole so that my ears were sticking. I was like, I used to have so many times.
that's
I'd be
almost like
so
a
sick.
superhero. He does his.
Yeah. And it was like, and then it was so sore. I was so
Could I be
fucked
a
up.
new guy called Cokehead?
Yeah. there
how
is a
you know.
guy, Snowflame.
Oh,
Yeah,
Snowflame.
he's a cocaine-fueled supervillain. Yeah.
Oh, he
He's
already
pretty-
exists?
He's pretty cool. He exists. Yeah, he's in DC Comics. Yeah.
Oh,
Well, let's get him. Let's dust him out. Let's
Yeah.
make him 50 and bring him
Oh,
into the
you're-
fold.
I think you're good. That's like the first time you become a method actor.
Now all of a sudden, I really believe in method acting. Okay, so when you said you were kind of shown out, I'm guessing you were performing pretty terribly, smoking weed all day at Loyola.
It's cool, yeah.
Were you loving California though? Having been from
I
St.
did.
Louis?
I did. Yeah, I really loved California. And I felt, and again, like we talked about how I was very much an outcast in Missouri, and I was not that at all in Loyola. I felt popular.
Yes.
Not only did I feel popular, I felt popular being myself. There were times that I would felt popular, but it was like, it would be sort of me subsuming, who I was.
Yes.
And, dressing down and whatever. And in California, I just was myself, and I was just a regular popular kid. In Loyola.
Yeah.
And that was a weird feeling.
So you left there, and then you ended up at University of St. Louis.
Yes, it was you. Yeah.
And what did you major in while you were there?
Psychology. But
And you'd gotten sober in that interim.
I got sober. Yes. So
On your own, you just quit everything, or
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's more complicated than that because
Okay.
I quit. No, not on my own. No. I went through rehab.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
Believe me, no. I'm
Okay.
truly sober, program, everything,
Sure,
right? So, no. I went through inpatient rehab for a long time, outpatient. I dropped out, started playing music, was going to school, was not really going to school, was mostly playing music. Dropped out of school, moved to Arizona, played music professionally, played music for a couple of years, went back to school. And that's when I discovered writing, like truly writing
At St. Louis.
at St. Louis U.
Okay, so you fall in love with writing.
Yeah, I had a creative writing class that I took. I wasn't playing music. I'm like, I got to figure out something I'm going to do. I said, I think I'm going to teach. But what do I want to teach? I was already pretty far in psychology, so I had to finish that degree.
Yeah.
But I was much more interested in like English. And so I started taking tons of English classes. But I took a creative writing class with a guy by the name of Al Montesi. His, task for us was to go home and write a play. I had a really shitty early computer and I wrote a play on there, and I'm like, this is the most fun I've ever had. And I think a lot of it was then I went in, and so we took our plays into class, and the guy copied them off and he gave them to other students so that we could read the roles.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody, this is so me, so I can't pretend like I'm not this way. But everybody was laughing so much. Like
Yeah.
it was like,
Approval.
oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm being loved.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm being loved for my brain,
Yes.
not the way I look.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's such a weird thing for a man to say, but that's what it was like for me at the time, because
Yeah.
I've always felt like I had been writing these lyrics that nobody could understand.
Yeah.
And I got attention from the way I looked.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like having my brain loved.
Yeah.
And I was like, my whole life is different from that moment on.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
And in the way that I wasn't, the best singer, I went from feeling kind of old as a rock musician at the age of 22 or 23 or whatever I was, which is silly. But I did, at the time, I felt like old, to being really young as a writer.
I also wonder, timing wise, it probably was helpful that you had just gotten sober, because there's a high in that. There's a high in that approval.
Yeah.
And so
I was actually sober for a little while by that time, because this
Yeah.
is like, I've been sober for like 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not.
that's not really,
That is
it
a
is a
long
long
time.
time.
It is when you're 19.
I guess you're
It's
right.
a
You're
huge
right.
percentage of your life.
Yeah,
I mean, one
totally.
of the things struggles for me in sobriety that I can start to take it for granted is that I got sober when I was so young that being sober is way more a part of my life than using,
Yes.
chemicals. And that is actually a little bit of something I have to be aware of in my life, because there are times when then I can kind of forget that I'm not just naturally sober.
Yeah, yeah.
That's not something I actually have to put some effort in. It's
Yes.
easier for me than other people.
Well, that's
But-
why I think it's so
Totally.
hard to maintain sobriety from 19 onward, because I at least took it to 29. But even at that, I look at just my standard operating, my modus operandi at 29.
Yeah.
I had temper tantrums. I fought guys at stoplights.
Yeah.
I was unhinged. And you get to this point where you're pretty stable and normal, and I'm not up and down.
I still had all those things, though. Because, again, it's like
I know.
I
You
feel
have-
like I had to go through. I had to go through being, after getting sober. Then I was crazy with sex. You know, so it was like I'm an addict.
Yeah.
Then I had to deal with my anger issues because I'd get so fucking angry and get in fights.
Yeah.
And so and I just had to kind of go through one thing at a time until I'm my wonderful, boring self today.
Yes, but the danger of it is you're sitting around in your 40s and you're like, I'm not even the same dude that got sober.
Yeah.
Like I'm a calm guy who's responsible.
I
and I'm
still
not.
am not. I still don't think I'm.
No, you're right.
Yeah, you're right to say that.
I found out.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It can be quite misleading because
Yeah.
you're just trying to evaluate, am I the same person, really? Which is hard to do.
Yeah, because you're like, I'm not that guy. I could probably dabble and be fine.
Yeah, I'm not going to
That's the
disappear
illusion.
for 4 days. I would never do that.
And then
now.
there you are.
I mean, also, I do believe that I'm naturally like an alcoholic and addict. Everybody in my family is. I'm Irish Catholic. Like it's just a part of our genetics.
Yeah.
But I also think that because I was so extreme, so young, there were other things that were at play mentally, other anxiety and depression issues that made me take that on so full force.
Yeah.
you know?
Well, I only gained this compassion for us in watching my very best friend since I was 11 get sober 5 years ago.
right.
And in exploring his whole experience, we both had challenging childhoods. His was infinitely more challenging. It was so fucking hard. And the only thing that he did for a period that I never got into is he huffed gas for like a year and a half.
That's a hard one.
And it's such a terrible high.
Yeah.
And I just had this moment where I realized, yeah, that was an improvement for Aaron.
Right.
And that's where I got this just wave of compassion for us. Like, yeah, you're trying to feel better.
You're trying to feel better.
And if you feel so bad that a gas buzz is an improvement, fuck, my heart goes out for you.
Yes.
But then I can extend that to us.
Yeah.
You're like suffering, and it's a great fucking medicine. It works.
We hurt.
It works for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you not hurt?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
It's not all about like, how can I have fun?
Exactly.
no.
Exactly. And even when you're taking on the wreckage, a lot of people would be like, "What? You know, look at the wreckage." And you're like, "Yes, but the wreckage is preferred to how I felt without it."
Yeah.
As crazy as that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
sad.
But you also get blinded to repercussions, you know?
Yes.
So you start using drugs and it's like you just get blinded to the fact that what is this going to lead to? You lose it. You lose it.
Okay, so you end up at Columbia to get a master's in writing, but prose, not screenplay writing.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to be a novelist.
Yeah.
I was a novelist. I wrote novels. So, but I remember my brother Sean and I within like a few days. So we were the two fuck ups of the family. I was the oldest kid and he was the youngest kid. The other kids are all pretty straight and pretty, together.
Dependable.
Even my two alcoholic brothers who were much more straight than me. And so we were the fuck ups, and he got into Fordham University for acting the same week that I got into Columbia for prose. And it was like, what the hell is going on? This is an upside down world in which we're getting into the two prestigious institutions.
Yes.
And we were so happy. We were just
I
like,
bet you it was a great
high-fiving.
Christmas.
We just kept saying, two fuck ups, two fuck ups.
Yeah.
And so, so I went to Columbia. So I wrote a novel as my thesis, got it published. And,
Got it published.
Yeah. The Toy Collector, which people have read. And it's
Yeah.
very, very transgressions novel.
Of your accomplishments,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to weirdly guess that might have never got better than getting a book published.
No.
I mean, not objectively,
But for
the
your
pride
life.
of
But
having got a...
Nah.
Really?
Nah.
Oh, man. I would
It
have
was
been...
an aside. Here's the thing. I got it published after I started doing okay here.
Okay.
So there were a lot of other things that started happening.
Okay.
And I was really...
But just you remember the SE envelopes you'd send all these fucking publishers, hundreds trying to get stuff published. Did you go through that whole
I didn't
phase?
do any of that.
You- okay.
I got an agent.
That explains why.
And then we had a couple people making offers on the
Yeah, it's
novel.
a different
And then they had to
experience.
bid
Yeah.
for it.
No wonder it's not high up there. I remember sending like 1,000.
Yeah, no, that time
If I
goes
would've got
back.
one back.
You know, I got I went to Columbia, but one of the things is I got denied. I didn't get into Iowa. I didn't get into NYU. I didn't get into Washington University. I didn't get into I
explain
can't
that?
remember Georgetown. Like
Yeah.
I didn't get into all these different places, and I was like, I think I'm fucking great. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
And then when I got the envelope from
Wow.
Columbia, I was pretty happy. I mean,
bet.
it was like my number one choice,
Yeah.
and the hardest one to get into.
Yeah.
And I was like, so it was cool.
I would have told myself, like, yeah, I'm so good that the elite school could
Only the
see it.
elite
These other
ones.
ones
That's right.
on it.
Yeah, the ones
That's what I would-
That is what I told myself. I told myself they're looking for more commercial writers. They're looking for people that will actually go out there and make some money, not artsy fartsy. Because I always had a little bit in me of like, I wanted to make money doing this. I didn't want to not.
How disgusting is mine is really high. My fascination with money, my obsession, my chasing of it, my financial insecurity. Those are raging. Yeah. Where are you at on that spectrum?
I think it's changed over the years.
Well, of course, because you get it and it's not the fantasy you thought it was.
Definitely with all of the uncertainty in the world, my sort of, I like making money. It's always been something that's been exciting for me. Like I remember the first time I was playing a show and the guy came out and the first time I made $500 playing a show back in the 80s. And the guy came out and gave me this wad of money. And I'm like, oh, this is the best feeling in the world. Getting paid for doing something creative. Like I was so jazzed by that. Yes. And I definitely am, everyone knows I'm pretty tough with like my own business dealings, you know?
Yes.
And I'm good at that part of it. It drives me to a certain degree, but it isn't the overriding thing. I was always trying to get love for most of my life.
Yeah.
I was just trying, if I want people to love me.
That's right.
And I think that changed at a certain point, and that is that just put things in a different perspective.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't know why I do what I do. I work so hard all the time.
Yeah.
And I like what I do, like the results of what I do. Mm-hmm. I don't get a big charge out of being loved. I have a lot of money. Why am I my life has been built so crazily on ambition that it's just, that is the only way my body knows how to act.
Yeah.
What aspect do you find most grueling and which one's most fun?
I like every part of making a movie. I can't say that was always the case. It used to be that I liked writing and post-production but didn't like shooting. Now I love it all.
Oh, interesting.
So I will say that if, in terms of the pleasure I get from it, if I could, write a movie, make a movie, edit a movie, and then burn it, I'd probably be happy.
Oh, you don't like the after effect.
I don't like having to deal with putting it out there in the world.
Yeah.
I don't like to have to deal with, this is perfectly pleasant. I like this, doing podcasts where we're talking. Yeah. But most of the press, I fucking hate.
Yeah.
So there is, I don't, the things I thought I'd like when I was young, like doing red carpets and stuff. I don't like people looking at me like that. I don't like that kind of stuff.
That is self-actualization. You're there for the process, but you don't care about the result. And then that's what we're striving for. But then it does come with like, well, then what's the point?
Well, and you want it to magically make a couple $1 billion without you going on red carpet.
Exactly.
I know.
I really want all of it.
If I'm burning it after I'm done, I'm not sure I'm worth how much I'm getting paid to do it. So I like doing it for the job aspect. And also, I do feel a certain sense of calling in doing what I'm doing. I really do. I believe in God. I believe in like, that there is, I feel a certain calling in what I do. And I feel like that it is, I don't think it's like a saintly activity, but I do think that if I can make the world slightly better and more, people with stories about people that are good people or in, learning about themselves or in touch with their emotions, that maybe it's a little, it's something.
Yeah, it's positive.
Yeah.
You're leaving the world better than you found it.
I hope.
Yeah.
Can you pinpoint the moment where that fell away, the approval or the needing like external validation?
Yeah, it was when I got fired. It was 100% when I got fired. I've talked about this before. It's not a big
But not to us.
thing. Now, I haven't talked about it to you.
Can we stop 2 places before that?
Yeah, sure.
You come out to LA after Columbia.
No, I was in New York. I was in Columbia, and I was still in grad school, and I got hired to write a screenplay for a movie called Romeo and Juliet for $150. I wrote it, and then I found out I like being the guy. And so I took control, and sort of became Lloyd's partner on that film.
And so Lloyd is the guy what did he direct most
He
famously?
directed Toxic Avenger, Class of Nukem High, all sex and violence. My first, I wrote the screenplay. My next job was choreographing the sex scenes with the actors.
Right.
But I got to learn about every aspect of filmmaking. So I got to learn about You know, the movie cost $350,000, which I couldn't believe was so much money to me at the time.
Yeah.
I remember driving in the subway to set and going like, I can't believe that I wrote something, and then all of a sudden they're spending this enormous amount of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I learned about everything. I learned about, you know, casting, about marketing, about putting the movie out into theaters. We played here at the, you know, the New Beverly every
Oh,
Saturday
yeah.
night.
Oh, wow.
So it was a great, it was much more helpful to me, I think, than film school, you know, because it's so practical, just so practical.
Yeah. So you then you end up writing a bunch of different things that end up working. I think most significantly you do Scooby 1 and Scooby 2 as a writer.
That's right.
And that's when I meet Lillard. He's just done Scooby 2.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
So you're a pretty successful writer at that point.
Yes. You know, you're talking about the novel. Like that was, you know, was at that exciting moment. The exciting moments for me in my career kind of were the morning, 5:30 in the morning when Scooby-Doo first opened up, and Lorenzo de Bonaventura, who was the head of production at Warner Brothers at the time, woke me up and he said, "Did you hear it?" And I said, "No, it's 5:30. What would I hear?" And he said, "You know, it's the biggest opening ever in July."
Wow.
And
Wow.
I knew that I went from being nobody to having a career in this industry.
Yeah.
That was huge.
And then the first thing you direct is Slither.
Yes.
Horror movie.
Directed that.
Incredible cast.
Yeah, made dozens of dollars at the box office.
Uh-huh.
But it got really good reviews. I find that there's certain key moments in my life where I take a stand where you want to not, you know, you want to retreat, and I took a stand. But it was, you know, going to come out, and they came to me and they said, you know, it costs a lot of money to, you know, have these movies screened for critics. So I think we're not going to do that. And what they were really saying was, we as a studio don't think that this movie is going to get good reviews. So we're not going to screen it for critics. Went to bed that night, and I'm like, you know what? I don't buy it. I just don't buy that it's not going to get good reviews. I think it's going to get good reviews.
Yeah.
And I called up Eric Newman, our producer, the next morning, good friend of mine. And I'm like, we can't do it. We got to fight this. We got to fight this. And we went in and we fought it, and they were very great in that they listened to us and they did it, and it saved my career in a lot of ways, because I don't know if I would have gotten those reviews if it would have helped me as much as that movie.
You got to be either a critical success
you need one
or
or the other on your debut film. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you just get lost.
Yes.
You're dead.
So it really helped me.
Yeah.
And then that leads, you do also a superhero movie. You
Do Super. Yep.
So now we go to 2013 Guardians. It's a coup that you get that at the time because you had done some stuff. But
It's crazy. I was like, I was about to quit. I was like, I had just done a video game that I had a lot of fun doing. I had a deal to do a TV show, which seemed to be something that was happening in the air, which I was right about.
Yeah.
Because there's so much premiere television that was about to happen.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's where, like, unless you're doing a movie like, a Marvel movie, it's like not culturally relevant anymore. So I'm like, why am I making movies when I'm just going to make TV shows and video games?
right.
Because I cared about being culturally relevant. And then just right after it, so I told my agents, I'm just going to quit making movies. I'm going to focus on these other things. And then Marvel called me in, which they had called me in before. They knew I was a big comic book fan. I didn't think it was very realistic. I went in and I met, and I was like, they told me about Guardians, and I didn't really 100% see it in the room, but on the way driving home, I started to see it can't come together.
Was Chris involved yet, or was it just a property they wanted to explore?
I heard Chris. Yeah. No, there was a script, and those main characters were already a part of it. So to me, it was like, at first it was like Bugs Bunny and the Avengers. And I was like, how's that going to work? And I knew the characters from the comics, but mostly another iteration of the characters. So I just wasn't sure. But when I was driving home, I saw how it could be. Number one, I saw Rocket, the character Rocket, and I was like, I went with my usual question was, what if this was real? Okay, seems stupid, talking raccoon, but what if it was real? And I realized that he would be the saddest person in the universe, and that he was totally alone.
Yeah.
And that was sort of the seed of the
That's your
whole
bread and
show.
butter.
And it's my bread and butter. And so and then I started to see how it could be. I always wanted to do a space fantasy and how it could be that space fantasy that I always wanted to do. And how it could be, it wasn't going to be like Star Wars, but that it could excite kids in the same way Star Wars excited me. Like, they could get that same feeling of magic and novelty that I got when I saw the, C-3PO on the cover of People magazine they could get from Groot.
Yeah.
I got the gig and I was with my girlfriend at the time in her apartment and I got the call that I got the job and I felt like Kelly Clarkson with the confetti. That's how I remember it, by the way. You know what I'm talking earlier.
So
the way I remember it is I was Kelly Clarkson and the fucking balloons and confetti and fucking bubbles are coming down on me as I get this phone call.
Yes. I loved Iron Man so much.
Me too.
Also, I had done Favreau's movie just before Iron Man, so I was like kind of close to him at the time. So I think I got to see so much of how that came together, and then the fight for Downey and all that stuff.
Yes.
So I loved that one, and I want to credit he and Dan Liebenthal for kind of creating the Marvel sense of humor. I think they deserve a lot of credit for that.
Yeah.
And then I didn't care about a bunch of them, and then I saw Guardians. And I was like, fuck me. This movie is so original, even within this genre. And more of Star Wars than it was, per se, Marvel conventionally.
It's not really a superhero movie. It's not superheroes. They're just adventurers.
Yeah, it had a reach that was beyond superhero. Like, I saw it and I wasn't seeing any of those movies. Because I don't care. I generally don't care about superheroes. But it was, it was so good.
It transcended, and just right out of the gates, the opening, the music, it's such a big part of it. But I was trying to go back in my mind to remember where Chris Pratt was on this hierarchy. He wasn't yet the biggest star in the world. Had he done Jurassic? Not yet.
Oh, no. He was the heavy guy on Parks and Rec,
Yeah, so it's a coup on a coup, because you shouldn't probably be there. And now you come in, you go, okay, thanks for letting me in the door. Now I want you to bet a few $100 million on this guy who's never done this.
Yeah.
What was that process like?
It was difficult and easy. It was difficult in that we auditioned literally 300 people easy for Star-Lord. I screen tested, 25 actors.
Wow.
I could not find the guy.
That you liked. Or
nor
that the studio
Kevin
liked?
Feige either. I was so happy because we did the first screen tests and we screened them and I'm like, oh, they're going to kill me. He was such a specific guy. The famous story around it is that I didn't want to see Chris because I'm like, this Joker? No way.
Yeah.
And Chris didn't really, he had been turned down by a lot of things and he didn't want to have to do that again. Sarah Finn, who's the casting director, talked me into it. I think she tricked me into it. I think she set up the meeting without telling me, even though I had already, but we were so desperate at that time. I'm like, oh, I guess he's coming in. He came in and he started his audition. And I am serious, it was not 12 seconds into the audition. And I turned around to Sarah and I said, he's the one, and I knew it. It was seconds. And
wow.
So then
What a
it
good
was
feeling.
about getting everyone else on board.
Okay, so you do the first one. It's fucking outrageous. Now, in between Guardians 2 and 3, now if we've caught up, I thought it'd be relevant. Before we evaluate you looking back at your career and deciding whether or not you're happy, I think we needed to know how we got there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you had a string of old tweets that came out that were...
That's right, yeah.
You were making some jokes that were on topics people don't like.
My novel was, if you look at transgressionist fiction in Wikipedia, I'm listed.
Yeah.
That's what I did, was I was a provocateur. And they weren't very funny, but whose tweets are funny? From 10 years ago.
It's also worth saying, I was early into Twitter too. And there's a long period of time where I think I'm just tweeting to whoever follows me.
Of course.
And I think I've whoever has followed me has declared they have a similar sense of humor as I do or point of view. And then it'll just end there, that somehow it has a border, a perimeter.
The biggest mistake I made was I one day posted, hey, everybody, it's fake retweet time. This is back in the day when you didn't just press a button and retweet someone. That wasn't possible. You had to copy and paste and then put RT before the tweet.
Yep.
I realized you could do this and fuck over your friends. So I started tweeting the most horrible things I could imagine about my friends who have had to live with this to this day.
Yes.
Saying that they had killed, my friend JP had killed a prostitute in Mexico. And,
Right.
I was retweeting all these horrible things they had said.
Yeah.
But did they say it or were you making
He
it
was
up?
just making it up.
I'm making up what they said.
Right.
I made them say the worst things I could possibly imagine. So this goes forward now to, when all this stuff happens. And people, what the meaning of RT has been forgotten. They think I'm tweeting at people saying these terrible things.
Yes.
And these poor guys are caught in the crossfire. People who are not famous at all.
Right.
And so I get fired.
And really quick, when you get fired, did they say you're fired and we are going to do Guardians 3 without you? Is that a notion you have or no?
At the very beginning, it didn't come up. Because Kevin was fighting for me to come back.
Yeah.
So it didn't come up at first, but I got fired. It was miserable. It was the worst.
And were you angry, sad? I mean, I assume a lot of things.
All
What
those
was the main emotion?
There was a moment in which I didn't know. I said to Peter Safran, I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like bad.
Yeah.
And
Peter is your longtime manager and producing partner who now co-runs
DC with me. It's not only am I being attacked, but my friends are being attacked. David Dasmalchian said something positive. He's being attacked.
Yeah, it was such a weird.
Joel Kinnaman responded to an Instagram and he was attacked just for that and called, terrible things.
If I were you, I would have had some self-righteous indignation over the fact that really this all starts because you had pissed the right off and the right went digging. Do I understand that correctly?
Yeah.
So it's like I would be yelling to my liberal friends like, you motherfuckers are doing exactly what they hoped. Like, this is out of the right playbook.
Yes. Yeah. It was mostly right-wing people attacking me, but it was also a lot of other people.
Oh, yeah. Once you failed the purity test.
Fuck, I don't even like talking about this shit. I realize now I'm really talking about it, which I don't like. I think that what happened was my life was gone. I thought my career was over. I didn't think I was going to make another dime in this industry. So I was just going to have to hold on to whatever I had made, which was nowhere near as much as I had hoped it would be, to last for the rest of my life and live a really frugal life.
Yeah.
But the thing that happened, I realized, was that everything I had done was really to be rich and famous so that people would love me. And I wanted people to love me. And that a lot of what I did was not based upon being a creative individual or a calling or anything, but so that I could finally be accepted and loved. And I, as an organism, was unable to experience the love of another human being. The only time I could remember even slightly the feeling it is, I had gone to a Brazil Comic-Con shortly before this time. And I remember standing on stage and, literally 8,000 people in the crowd chanting, James Gunn, James Gunn, and crying like girls at a Beatles concert.
Yeah.
And for the first time in my life, I said, oh, I'm at zero. I'm okay for the first time in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's fucked
That's
up.
how many people had to jump into the hole in your heart.
Much fuck.
They're strangers,
And they're
too.
strangers.
That's the part that's...
And I went from feeling like that, and on that day when I had lost all the power I had lost the ability to cast anybody, I had lost everything, I got so much love from my partner at the time, Jen, the Guardians from Chris and Tom, and, all those guys.
The people who actually knew you.
Yes,
The people
exactly.
that knew me, all my friends, my mom and my dad. I was overwhelmed with it, and I experienced being loved for the first time.
Yeah.
And I went to sleep that night looking at my wife going, my girlfriend going, I'm going to marry this woman. And I went to sleep that night going, this started out as the worst day of my life, but I actually think it's the best day of my life.
Yeah.
Because I learned that I don't need to tap dance till bones are showing through my toes to get people to like me.
Yeah.
And that was a really intense experience. And I kept it with me
Isn't it crazy what it takes for us?
at the extremes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
And
insane, right?
It is. It is.
You can be
I'd
told
lose
stuff
my-
intellectually a bunch of times, and you can understand it intellectually, and then just it takes these crazy kind of moments of humility to connect to it emotionally.
Yeah.
I think that's everyone, but I think especially for an addict. That you are living in tens and ones. And so to like, you know.
So true. But I try so hard not to do that.
No,
today.
I know.
Because I'm so hyperbolic in everything about my life. And it's like, no, it's not. I mean, I got upset about something this morning. I was getting upset with, that something with the way things had been posted about tickets being released. And I'm like, calm the fuck down.
Yeah, I
like,
bring
you're
it
not
up.
going to
care so
remember
much
this
about everything.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's like not a 10.
I
There are
know,
10s.
but it's hard. It's
They're
hard.
few and far
We're
between.
programmed
But
that
you can make a lot of
We had
sevens
to
of
move our
tens.
house. We had to move my family quickly out of my house during the LA fires. Like, that was a 10, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
But also not worthy getting upset because that's just going to make you worse at what you're doing. And in those situations, I'm pretty good. Like, I'm sober. So why am I sober when, I have to get my pets out alive, and I'm not sober when they post the wrong thing on my
Yeah.
Instagram account? Stupid.
Yeah.
Well,
it's our brains.
We know the answer to that kind of, which is you suffer more in your imagination than you do in reality, which is like that thing's still in your imagination. It'll come out, it'll be perceived X, Y, and Z. This other group of things will happen as a result of that. Whereas like, oh no, the fire's down the road, fucking pets got to go now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's-
know how to pick up pets and put them in a car. I'm in action.
I don't have the luxury of drama in that situation.
Exactly.
If I have the luxury of drama, then drama isn't warranted. And if drama is warranted, you don't have the luxury of having it.
100%.
So it's like drama's just bullshit. Like it's unworthy
is.
except for on the page.
Yeah.
It's our ego and our
Yeah.
revenge addiction.
But it's
and-
hard. It's future surfing versus being in the present. But it's almost impossible to not. Unless you're
We're not
unless
perfect.
you're Buddhist. We're not perfect.
But we can be better.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
Okay, so did you take the DC role with the Suicide Squad, in the interim where you thought you weren't going to be able to work for
That's
Marvel?
right. Yeah, it was the worst because so Kevin was fighting for my job back. I went and I met with Alan Horn, a guy I love to death. It wasn't happening.
Mm-hmm.
I left. Toby Emmerich from Warner Brothers at the time came to me. It's like, James Gunn Superman, James Gunn Superman. I said, I don't know, man. And then he was like, well, what about Suicide Squad? And so I came up with an idea. I went and pitched it. They were like, yes, let's do it. There's no joke. I went home and I got a phone call, and it was Alan Horn. And he said, James, I wonder if you could come in and see me tomorrow.
You're back. You're back.
And I
Yeah.
was like, oh my God. And I went in to meet with Alan, and I don't know what Alan's comfortable with me talking about or not, but he basically was like, he didn't think it was the right thing.
Right.
And he said, my conscience just won't let me live.
Well, there was an online petition that 400,000 people signed to bring you
Yeah.
back. Everyone in the cast got supportive. There was
Yeah.
pretty much a tidal wave against, which is so rare.
Yeah, it started out really negative and then became much more in my favor
Right.
within days. But it really wasn't that. It was really that this was after all the noise had passed.
Right.
And Alan just was waking up being like, I don't think it's right. And I've known Alan forever. The greatest guy in the world. And I love him to death. I still work with him because he's at Warner Brothers now. So we
Yeah.
keep following each other around. And I work with him all the time. He's one of my most trusted mentors. I show him every cut of the movie. He gives me advice, on everything. But he said, I wanted to hire you back. I said, oh. I said, okay. I said, I got to talk to Kevin. I went over to Kevin's house, Kevin Feige, who's the head of Marvel. And I went into his basement where he's got all his Star Wars figures, like a little museum. And he said, this is amazing. He said, this is so good. This is what I wanted. And I'm like, yeah, it's good, but I have to do something else first.
Yeah.
And oh my God, I didn't remember this till right now. And Kevin goes, are you doing Superman? I forgot about that till just this moment. I said, no, I'm going to do Suicide Squad sequel. And he said, whoa. He's like, okay. He's like, it's fine. It's fine. Go do it. And then we'll do Guardians after.
Did you feel at all like, oh, I wanted to play my whole career with the Bulls, but I got forced to? Was there any like ethical dilemma, like, oh, I'm going now to the competitor? Nah.
No, I just shook my
You
head.
shouldn't feel that way, but
I didn't feel that way because
good.
I was fired.
Yeah, exactly.
yes.
I think in some ways it's like, I guess I'm going to play for the other team now. Like almost like with some like, fuck you.
Yeah, no, it wasn't even that because I really, like, there are people that I'm not that happy with over there, but that certainly wasn't the Marvel guys.
Yeah.
And, you know, they were completely supportive. Lou D'Esposito called me all the time. So Lou and Kevin were great. So it certainly wasn't them.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel guilt at all. I
Yeah.
I had to take a job.
Yeah, exactly.
I took a job. To people that I also really liked, and that was it.
Okay. Superman. We had Nicholas Hoult on
Yes, we did.
already.
Oh yeah, Nick. Yeah.
To promote this.
This
You're
is gonna
part
be
of
a
Superman
Superman
Week.
week.
Okay, great. He's the sweetest guy. Every person on set had a crush on
Of
Nick.
course.
Yeah.
The thing that's unique about him, which it's hard to come off because you don't really fully get the sense of a person's humility, and some people are good at faking it.
Yes.
Me, no, little no.
You're just okay at it.
But he's really, he's truly a humble guy.
Yeah.
Like he's just got that thing that he comes onto set and he's just working really hard, and then he'll have dinner with me or with the second AD. So it's like he doesn't have any airs about him whatsoever.
Yeah.
There's no zero diva. Which in an actor, to have zero diva is crazy.
Yeah, very
right?
rare. Yeah.
So it's, especially for somebody who's been famous since he's been a little boy.
I know.
Another example we have of that is Christian Bale, who also is famous as a little boy, didn't really like it, then came back to it. So I think if you go through that whole cycle, you can end up
in British.
Yeah,
In British.
that's the British
big
thing.
Because British people are not better than Americans in general, but they aren't even, contrary to popular opinion, I don't necessarily believe they're better actors in terms of the talent of acting than Americans. But their work ethic as actors is better than the work ethic of American actors. For some reason, British people, for the most part, and some are absolute pieces of shit, but for the most part, they look at it as a job, and they come in and they do their fucking job, and they're great.
It's because of theater. It's because theater is such a huge part of
But I also
that
like
culture.
all those guys that I knew from the British Office and all that stuff. It's a different culture on film sets over there.
There's also a different marketplace over there, which has a lot to do with it.
Yes.
It's like when, British Office, they do 3 seasons. One's a Christmas thing.
That's right.
They don't do the Friends thing. They don't do the Seinfeld thing. They don't have things run for 8 years and end up paying people $1 million an episode. So people don't make as much money doing it.
Yeah.
You're not getting into it for the same level of fame and money you get into it in America.
I think
for.
fame
I think
is
that's a big
different
difference.
there.
Yeah, and also the people that are attracted to it, there is that sort of thing in England where it's the class system, really. I mean, it's not a good thing, but in the United States, you're this overly fame-seeking, ambitious, egomaniac child from any place that's like, I'm gonna be a fucking star.
I know.
That's not really something so much that happens in England.
Exactly.
Right.
It's much more about I'm going to go to a theater school and
Be great at acting.
Be good.
I'm going to do that.
Yeah,
I'm going to be an actor.
When you take on Superman, are you so confident in your skills at that point that you're not intimidated by that property?
No, I'm intimidated by it, and I think that also I wasn't just because I took it on didn't mean I was 100% going to do it.
Right.
It just meant I was going to play with it and see what I could do. It's just I had the ability to do it. So I was playing, tooling around with it, and then the DC job came.
Okay.
Which was a complete out of left field, like crazy thing for me that I'm doing, that I'm a CEO. We're our own studios. So we are not under Warner Brothers. We are under David Zaslav. So there's Zaslav, and then there is DC Studio. So we're a separate studio from Warner Brothers.
Okay.
We share marketing and distribution.
So you're the studio head.
I'm the head of the studio. Yeah, me and Peter's
Nice.
co-head with Peter Safran. He's really the studio head. I'm the guy that tries to put, the projects together and keep things
Create a
consistent
DC tone,
in the
I
universe.
imagine.
Well, I actually don't want to create it. One of the things I want to do is to be able to allow artists to do their own thing. One of the things I loved reading comics growing up, especially DC Comics, is being able to read these comics that were remarkably different. Like the way one artist would look at Metropolis is totally different from another artist.
Okay, so there's a ton of latitude.
There's consistency in the storylines. There's consistency with the characters. There's consistency with a lot of things. But the tones were different,
Yeah.
And I don't want them all to have a similar tone. I want them to be, the way I told, Craig Gillespie, who is directing Supergirl, is do your thing, and Anna Aguero, who wrote the script, it's different from Superman.
So what was the element that made you go from playing with it to falling in love with Superman? What was kind of the breakthrough for you?
I just kept playing with it until I thought I found a way in. And then I found a way in, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I just followed that path.
Okay, so how does yours differ and also resemble the previous ones?
Well, Superman is Superman. He's a good-natured guy who's an alien, and it's got the same backstory as everybody else. But one of the things I loved reading comic books as a kid, so I started reading comics when I was, 4. I learned to read on comics. And so back in the early 70s, by the time I came to comics, I came to Superman, not just Superman by himself, but Superman in a world of superheroes, Superman in the world of DC.
Mm-hmm.
And when I read Spider-Man was in a world of Marvel with all the Marvel characters. It wasn't like I came into these worlds and had to read the origin story and see the beginning of this character, and then 10 movies down, that'll probably never happen, he gets involved with other superheroes.
Right.
Our DC universe is a world where superheroes exist.
Yeah.
Yes.
It shares as much with Game of Thrones as it does with the Marvel universe, where we're in a world where magic exists, where metahumans exist, where and they've existed for quite a while.
Yeah, because the first Superman, or the Donner Superman,
Right.
He's the only superhero.
He's the only superhero. I mean, every superhero movie we ever saw through like Spider-Man was basically, the second Spider. It was like heroes by themselves.
Yeah.
Yes.
With no other heroes around them.
Yes.
And I didn't want to do that again.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to tell the origin story again. And I wanted to focus on a moment in his life that we hadn't really focused on. In this case, it's his early career as Superman and as Clark Kent, and his relationship with Lois Lane when they've been dating for 3 months. And I also wanted all the magic and science fiction stuff that I love from the Silver Age comics. So we get Krypto the Flying Dog. We have, Superman robots. We have kaiju. We have Lex Luthor in battle suits, and all of that over-the-top fun stuff, yet at the same time keep the characters completely real and completely grounded.
All I've gotten to see is the trailer, which is great and quite promising.
Thank
But
you.
yes, there's quite a bit of time dedicated to Superman's dog, or what I'm interpreting to be Superman's dog. And that's new to me. I didn't know Superman had a canine in the mix.
Krypto, yeah.
Okay. So what is,
Crypto.
so how does Krypto have powers? He can fly?
He's from Krypton.
Oh, he came with him in the capsule?
No, not exactly.
But he made it here somehow.
Yeah.
Okay, he has arrived.
Yeah.
And we don't worry about the fact that Clark is 20 and the dog's still alive?
We worry about it. We
Okay.
just don't explain it in this movie.
Okay, great.
But Krypto's also very important in our next movie with Supergirl. And so we'll find out a lot more of that.
Oh, cool.
Okay, great. And so Krypto in the trailer, he's tasked with flying Superman home from the
dragging
North
him
Pole.
home because his body's broken by some entity we don't quite know.
Yeah.
And he has to drag him home, and he's a fucking dog, so he doesn't know what he's doing. And he's terrible. So it's my dog, that character. He's actually physically my dog.
No way.
Oh,
Yeah.
you got him to act. He has a SAG card now?
Jesus Christ. No, my dog is terrible, but we made him white. Yeah, I could show you later. But he's just my dog made white. We photographed my dog and then turned him into crypto.
I would imagine of the many kind of Herculean tasks on your plate when you tackle Superman, I would guess among the top one is casting Superman.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's any role that's more.
I would not have made the film if I couldn't find Superman.
Okay, so do you first start considering having previous Superman? No. You know you're going to start from scratch because of the age. How do you begin looking for a young stud? I mean, that's what you need. You need who can play a dork, but it's also
you need a guy with Superman face, first of all.
Yeah.
Right.
Hard to find.
That's non-negotiable.
And so we just cast a very wide net, and we had everybody that we could think of auditioning.
Well, Nicholas auditioned for Superman, he told us.
Nick screen tested for Superman. Yep. So it came down to 3 actors: David Cornsweet, Nicholas Hoult, and another actor's fantastic.
Yeah.
And
where's David from?
David is from Philadelphia. He still lives in Philadelphia. He's the star of like a Netflix show. He's a star of an HBO show. We Own the Night. I don't know if you ever saw that. And, yeah. Yeah, so he was the main character in that, I think.
This is no shade to him. I have reached the age where I don't really know anyone under 40 anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I got to be introduced to them through a Superman or something. Yeah.
But I think you want it to be that way. You don't want it to be someone who like is so ubiquitous that everyone knows, because then we're bringing in a lot.
I mean, if the casting was good, I wouldn't mind.
You wouldn't care. Okay.
No, if the actor was right, I wouldn't have minded. You know, if Chris Pratt was 10 years younger, then I probably would have considered him for Superman. He's got that boyish
he does.
charm, and
Yeah.
So it's like
because where does Superman grow up? Iowa or something?
in Kansas.
Kansas.
Very
Iowa
Pratt.
adjacent.
Very Pratt.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I want to do too, is make him, because I grew up in Missouri around Missouri farmers, so I wanted to make his life a little bit more like the farms that I saw growing up.
Yeah.
So his parents live in a more modest housing than we've seen other Supermen. His parents don't look like aging movie stars.
The thing I could figure out, I was really curious about Superman, the most fascinating aspect to me, is the notion that he was hiding his superpowers his whole childhood. That to me, and the disappointment the dad might have when he showed them, and what a bizarre burden that would be to be super and not be able to show it.
I think
very interesting.
That is dealt with a lot in the comics, that, there's all sorts of different ways. Sometimes he's really super strong from the time he's young. Sometimes he little by little gains his powers as he gets older.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it's like, Dad, I want to be the quarterback. I can beat everybody. And nope, you can't. You got to pretend like you can't run.
Yeah, and then if you do it to impress a girl, then you've shamed yourself to your father. Like, it's almost, there's a parallel between like young virginal females. Like, you can't get, it's got to be so special. And all that you're telling the boy is like, don't get her pregnant.
Yeah.
But you're putting on her shoulders like, you got to be in love, and he's got to love you. God, how one knows that in junior, in high school.
Yeah.
To me, it feels like that weird kind of.
Yeah, luckily I don't have to deal with any of that, because I don't deal with him as a teenager. I just deal with his relationship with his dad, which is a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you know who Richard Christie is from the Howard Stern show?
Absolutely.
Richard is a friend of mine, and he's a Kansas boy. His parents are, Kansas folk. And so they did all the lines for me.
They did.
And I gave them to the actors so
cool.
that we could have an actual Kansas accent.
Oh, nice.
And that was...
He's the one, Monica, I've told you about, where he calls people. He said people where he's from will just be on the phone forever saying nothing. And he would call the people and go, hey, so how you doing? He's just a stranger. Someone picked up. I'm good. Good, so you're doing good?
Yeah, that's him, exactly. You're doing well.
Over and over.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Yeah,
And then he has
good.
his
You doing
brother
good?
call up, and then his brother, he's like, heard you just spoke to my brother. How's he doing? You can also ask how other people are doing.
Yeah, it's so funny.
He's a really sweet guy.
Do you make up in your mind, you go, okay, aesthetically, this has to be a departure from my normal aesthetic, right? Like you're juggling different kind of Marvel, DC.
Strangely, I'm kind of making a superhero movie for the first time. So I don't think of it about having to change from my normal aesthetic, but I always think visually, what is this movie? And so this one is much more comic booky. There's a comic book by the name of All-Star Superman, which it's sort of this larger than life, wonderful color palette, that some of it I'm really aping that. And so it needed to be different.
And how about Lois Lane?
I brought in, actually 3 Loises and 3 Clarks to screen test, and then I mixed and matched them because I've been in situations before where I've cast 2 great actors, put them together, and you're like,
no chemistry.
It's not working at all. You can do it. You just got to make it built on
it's
stilts,
hard.
but you got to do a lot of trickery to make it work. The 2 of them together were magic. And they're very different, and it does have this, it happened one night front page type of feel with the dialogue where they're going back and forth very fast, and it's romantic, but they're fighting, and there's a 10-minute scene in the movie of her interviewing him, and you see a little part of it in the second trailer, and it's we learn everything about what has happened until that point, but we also learn everything about their relationship and their ethics and how they're very different. He's an idealist. No, never kill no matter what. She's utilitarian. She's like, what benefits the greatest goods? We see the greatest good. We see how also their relationship is different, and that he's a little bit more, self-righteous, and she's not. He's stubborn. He's very stubborn, and believes just very, distinctly that you cannot let people die if you have the opportunity to stop it from happening.
Yeah.
No matter what. And she's like, yeah, but what if you
maybe
do
don't
that?
save Hitler.
Maybe you don't save Hitler.
Yeah.
He'd probably save Hitler.
He would have to. That's his code.
It's like the thing with if there's a train coming at 5 people and
the trolley experiment. He'll get them all somehow. That's how he'll do
figure
it. Okay, so yes, 2 years ago you wrote in 1 year 250 pages.
No, 650 pages of content.
Thank God you corrected me.
In 1 year.
I've done really good not looking at this sheet of paper I typed up.
650, because I wrote, within a year, I wrote Superman, the entire Creature Commandos series, and the entire season of Peacemaker 2.
Oh, my God.
650 pages.
It was the worst year of my life.
That is too much.
Do you do it at home? Do you go somewhere? You just try to
was
fold
writing
it into...
wherever. I mean, I went with, Jen and my friends and I went away to Hawaii for New Year's, and I literally was just in the room the whole time. She talks about it all the time. I was in the room the whole time writing Peacemaker season 2. No joy to it whatsoever. I was desperate. I mean, it was like all of my friends are in that show, and I'm like, I can't. I have to get it done before I start, really heavily pre-production of Superman.
Yes.
And so I was just desperately writing it. And then I would write every episode, and I'd be like, oh, wow. Pretty good. Where'd that come from? That felt like hell.
Yeah.
But that's pretty good. And then I would write the next one. I'd be like, oh, this is murder. I hate this. There's no joy in this. And then I'd be done. I'd be like, oh, that was pretty good too.
Yeah.
That's funny. I thought you would say, I would expect you to be like, I don't know what's good anymore. Like, I've written 650 pages. Like, I don't know what's good. I don't know.
Well, it's not what I don't necessarily know what's good, but I know what I like. And I just, that's all I can go off of.
Yeah.
There's something to be said about keeping the throttle pinned.
I think that is I think I lived in that place.
Yeah, because you get into a sweet rhythm at times, and you can kind of exploit it for a long time.
A really interesting book by Walker Percy called Lost in the Cosmos. He's one of my favorite writers. And it's about the different types of artists and, how why a lot of artists are addicts or have problems with other things, because you go up into the cosmos and then you re-enter Earth. And when you re-enter Earth, it can be a really difficult thing. So people deal with it through drugs and alcohol or sex, or
power
geographic
dynamics,
escape, or whatever.
Yeah.
And And then there's those few rare guys who just kind of go up there and seem to stay, which is like Picasso, maybe Andy Kaufman. And I think that I kind of stayed up there for that
A little too
period
long.
of time. Yeah. Yeah.
Re-entry was rough.
Repercussions down here.
I wanted to know what do you think are the greatest superhero movies made?
Into the Spider-Verse, first one,
Okay.
is the greatest. Donner, Superman, Iron Man, really. I'd say Iron Man is great. I'm forgetting something, you know.
What about what's the naughty ones I love? Ryan Reynolds.
Deadpool.
The first Deadpool. Oh fuck! All
I
of them.
actually love all three of
Yeah,
them.
Me
Like,
too.
they're all really good.
The last
You know.
one was like impossibly good. I was
I
like,
know,
my
I
God,
know.
this is fucking
Very
great.
messy, but so freaking funny. Yeah, I love those.
Well, James, this has been a blast. I'm so fucking excited to see it. It looks phenomenal. In 7-Eleven, do we like this date? I like numerically very easy to remember.
It is my father's birthday.
Oh, it
Which
is.
is crazy because I didn't realize it when they told me the date.
And it's a father-son movie.
And it is a father-son movie. Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah.
But anyways, so delighted this finally happened, and I hope everyone checks out Superman on July 11th.
Thank
Your
you.
father's birthday.
Thank you.
Stay tuned for the fact check. It's where the party's at.
Hello.
Hi,
How are you?
welcome to the fact check.
Welcome to the fact check.
That sounded. I sound like NPR.
I was going to
Welcome to the fact check, or like a robot.
Yeah, I was going to say you sound like NPR for sure.
Speaking of robots, okay, so Jess has a chat friend he named Brady. Okay, Brady and I have a beef. Like, I don't like Brady, and I really don't like Brady now because yesterday Jess said he was a double Virgo, and I was like, no, you're not.
Jess or Brady?
Jess did.
Okay.
He said one of his other friends told him he was a double Virgo, and I said, you are not. You're barely one Virgo.
Okay.
He is a Virgo sun, which is very hard for me to understand and reconcile. I don't, something, you know, when some things just don't make any sense.
Yeah.
But he said he was a double, which I am.
Right.
I am
and
a tried and true double Virgo.
Yeah, and you have a lot of pride in that.
Well, I don't have pride. I have,
Gratitude.
yeah, exactly.
Fine line between gratitude and pride, right? There's sometimes it's a little razor thin.
Yeah. But anyway, I was like, a very Virgo of me. I was like, no, you aren't. And there's no way that's true. Then he asked Brady. He said, I'm in an argument with Monica about whether I'm a double Virgo or not. Knowing me, do you think I am?
Like it's an opinion and not a actual thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And this is where things got so out of hand. Brady said, well, the traits of Virgos are blah, 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 blah. So, which you are. So if you think you're a double Virgo, you probably are. It said that.
Right. Like all you got to do is think it. Like he can think he's a Capricorn if he'd like.
But like, it shouldn't say that. It can say the beginning part, which is the qualities, but then to say, so if you want to be, like the adding this other piece is so scary.
You're scared.
I am scared. People are asking these chats all kinds of things, and they're just like talking as if they're people. Yeah, sure.
Well, now
That's bad.
I'm going to say something potentially inflammatory, which is they might be more drawn to their fake AI friends because they embrace, like, yeah, if you want to say you're a double Virgo and you weigh that against your real life friends and they're giving you shit about wanting to be a double Virgo, it makes the AI relationship perhaps more appealing.
That's not scary to you?
I mean, it's scary to me that people get even more lonely. Yeah. I think people,
Yes.
that's one of my platform issues. Solitary living when we're so social. That's already a problem.
Yeah, and me and you have gotten in a debate before about this. You said that you and I couldn't get like wrapped up in a relationship like that. And so we have to honor that other people won't. But that is not true.
Well, but do you really think Jess is wrapped up in his relationship with Brady, or it's a fun bit?
It's a fun bit on a slippery slope, I think, because if we weren't there and saying that's so bad that he just did that, I don't think he would think it was that bad. I think the slippery piece is we go to the chat because it's technically factual. Like, that's what it's for. It's scouring the internet for the actual answer. And the thought is like, oh, and they just like deliver it in a colloquial way, but it's facts. And clearly it's not.
Well, but hold on. This is also going to be a little bit combustible. If you ask it a question that there are facts behind, it'll give you. Unfortunately, astrology is not science and it's not facts. There are far more than 12 types of people on the planet, and astrology only accounts for 12 types of people. So that's already, we would agree, probably a mild issue with it.
That's fine. Hold on. These are two totally separate things. You can think astrology is bullshit.
Yeah. But
within the rules of astrology, there are things. Like, it's not just willy-nilly you get to pick. It's your birthday. It's very, very specific.
Astrology isn't the boiling temperature of water at 1 ATM, which is always 212. Many people who are arguing in the astrology world will point out astrology is based on a lunar calendar. So it is 5 days shy of a real year. The lunar calendar is 360 days. So all of those astrological signs that were established for those months are already completely wrong. Because every year since they've established those, they've lost 5 days. And so, sure, there's probably an echelon of astrology people who are accounting for that. And they're going, oh, actually, January 1st now is actually this. But already you have a big problem. That you have camps and divisions within this thing. There's no camps about when does water boil.
Okay, that's fine. But I think if you're using these apps that are substantiated, plus I went to an astrologer. That's her job. Her diagnosis of me was the same as the app. So they're all doing the same thing. Whatever. He's not a double Virgo. This is crazy. This is a real, this is I'm not saying astrology is real. I'm saying within the confines of, if you're talking about astrology, there's realities within it, and he is not that.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Monopoly's not real, but there are rules within Monopoly, and you can be in violation or not. But I am suggesting that there isn't the consensus that you're saying there is within astrology.
I think there is.
Okay.
There's definitely is about what your three major signs are.
But you would agree, how could it possibly be correct if they said my sign was in Capricorn on January when they said that hundreds of years ago, and they've lost 5 days every year? So how could that date still mean you're Capricorn? It can, just mathematically.
Well, I don't know what they're doing when they're calculating this. Okay. I'm not an astrologer.
Right.
And there's things
astrologist
to it that I just don't know.
Don't be disrespectful.
Oh.
You wouldn't say a biologer. You'd say a biologist.
Astrologist. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you're kind of kind of weakening your argument by calling in.
Why don't I ask Brady? Hey, Brady, is it okay if I call it astrologer? And he'll be like, if you want to call it that, Monica, sure.
If it's fun. See?
Yeah, that's not, I'm so worried about the world. Anyway, he's not. We confirmed it.
Okay.
And I told him he owed me an apology, and he didn't give it to me.
Oh, maybe Brady will send you an apology. He should ask Brady to send you an apology. He should say, Brady, you've really upset Monica. She's upset about this, and now I have disrepair in this relationship. Can you please fix it? That's a good prompt, and see what he does to fix it.
They do. I won't say who, but there's, yes, this story of a friend who got this really, really sweet, like kind message from another friend. And it had like, I'm sorry's in there and all kinds of things. And then months later, it came out that Chat wrote it.
Oh,
that's so bad. You cannot do that.
I'm in full agreement with you there. That's a little disingenuous, we would say.
Yes.
Yeah.
But see, this is where we think so because we like writing and we think that like
that's fair.
We're good at giving heartfelt notes.
Yes. This is very similar to, I've been such a big proponent and fan of GLP-1s. Because I was never obese and then got thin through all my toil and hard work. So, of course, for me, I was like, yeah, everyone that wants to be thin, if they can, that's great, health-wise. But now, I already told you about this GLP-1 that's in stage 2 trials. It's not a GLP-1, but it's another...
About muscles, right?
Yes.
It's a peptide.
Yes, where it your body naturally... limits how much muscle you'll build because muscle is super inefficient. It's not trying to carry around a bunch of different tissue it doesn't need. So this takes off the parameters and lets your body build as much muscle as it wants. And I was like, hold on a second. If everyone's going to be jacked without going to the gym, what am I going to do? So I finally relate. I can relate a little bit. I'm still for it, whatever. I don't care.
Okay.
Yeah, but it hit my back door.
It also is just going to cancel out specificity. Look, should I say it now? God.
I don't know what you're going to say, but I'm scared.
I'm going to come clean about something.
Okay.
I have been doing an experiment for a month where I'm taking a microdose of a GLP-1. I'm doing it. I'm not doing it for weight loss. I'm doing it to see how it affects my blood work. So we're going to redo my blood work, although I think we're going to go another month. I wanted to check 2 things. I wanted to see how it affected my cholesterol. I'm going to redo my cognitive test after that because there's some, when we had Eric Topol on, he was like, there's like some studies about it reducing tau and, whatever. All of this interesting stuff. That's actually when I decided I would do it. Exactly. After we had Eric Topol on, I was like, I wonder. And I really wanted to see how it affected my relationship with alcohol.
Yeah.
And shopping.
Yeah.
I can say it has not affected my relationship to shopping at all.
Okay, great. I would have maybe predicted that. Yeah.
Well, it was just like any semi-addictive things I have. I wanted to see how they were affected.
Yeah.
Now, the alcohol has been really interesting. So...
Yeah, that's what I'm most curious about, and I haven't gotten an update from you in a while.
I still want it. Like, it really hasn't curbed the craving too much. Maybe a little. Maybe a little bit. Like, it got to a point, and I mean, this sounds really bad, but it's the truth. Like, it was such a habit that I would wake up and I would think like, oh, later, I would like be planning my day and think about, and I'll have a drink at this point after we record. I'll go to Cara, or I'll go here, or I'll have.
Well, when you're making
it was part of my plan of the day.
Right, when you're making your schedule, that's the finish line. It signifies the finish line, exactly. I think. Yeah.
Yes, but when you're thinking about it first thing,
as soon as your eyes open, yeah.
Yeah, it's not. It was a little concerning. It was getting a little concerning. So that's gone. I don't wake up and think about it.
Well, here was my prediction, if I can just say it before you give me the details, was like, yeah, I'm sure your desire to drink would be the same. And then I think once you're drinking, you're going to find that you just drink less. And then that's going to reverse engineer the habitual nature of it. How many drinks a night when you go out normally? And then what is it now? And then now we know you don't think about it when you wake up.
Minimally. 2 minimally. I don't remember the last time I would have 1 drink.
Yeah, why do it? Yeah, it's no point.
Right. Yeah. And then since being on it, that is exactly what happened. Like I still wanted a drink, but I want less. And there many, many times have just had a drink.
Wow, that's fucking, Monica, think how crazy that is. That is awesome.
Or I'll get a second drink and I will start drinking it and then I won't finish it.
I mean, guys, this is so
that's very
crazy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is, I'm sure there's a lot of reasons for this, but 2 martinis, that's normal for me. That's regular. There are definitely times where I've had 3 and been fine.
Yeah.
The next day. 2 martinis now, I feel it the next day.
Mm-hmm.
My hangovers are worse. But also, because we're being honest here.
You're eating less.
I've lost weight. Exactly.
Yeah.
I've lost weight. I'm eating less. And not on purpose. Because I don't have that original issue of food chatter.
Yeah.
I don't think about food. So there is plenty of times where I'm like, oh, fuck, I have to eat.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah.
I need to eat food now.
That's kind of another magical element of it is when you're starving, you immediately think of all this stuff you want and your mind goes to the shittiest stuff versus, I haven't eaten in 6 hours and I have to eat. So what am I going to put in my body? I'm not craving anything. You make better choices all of a sudden. You go I need protein and I need.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. It's not there are so many times where I'm I'm so hungry. I just need to eat a whole pizza.
Yes.
That has not happened.
Right. Or I need to drive across town to get this chicken sandwich.
Yeah, I know. But I also understand. I'm conflicted about this because food is a big part of my life. I love food and I love restaurants and I love exploring new things and I love cooking. And so this has been interesting because I like that about my life. And so for that to not be as much of a factor, I don't love that part. And by the way, I should tell people I'm on a extremely small dose. It is a powerful drug.
Yeah, it's almost hard to believe it happened in our lifetime.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
Let's take a minute to thank our presenting sponsor, Audible. With Audible, the leading audio entertainment app, it's easy to discover new stories and ideas while going about your day.
Yeah, and with over 1 million audiobooks, Audible Originals, and more, it's basically impossible to run out of things to listen to. Plus, there's just something about audio storytelling that hits a little different.
Yeah, it really does, especially Audible Originals that feature performances from celebrities and top voices. It's like watching a movie in your head. One on my list is Treasure Island.
Aha.
Which is an Audible original drama. It's a timeless tale of pirates, lost treasure, maps, and mutiny. What more could you need?
That sounds really fun. I'm more of a psychological thriller girl myself.
Yeah, you're dark.
Yeah. I'm dark and I'm broody. And I've been hearing all about the author Frida McFadden. And I love that I can listen to her audiobooks on the Audible app when I'm commuting, taking my walks, as you know, or just doing laundry and chores.
Well, with Audible, you can find the genres you love and discover new ones. There's more to imagine when you listen. And to make it even better, Audible has a special offer for armchairies. Sign up for a free 30-day Audible trial, and your first audiobook is free. Visit audible.com/Dax. That's audible.com/Dax.
I think a lot of people have that fear you do, which is your life is built around being social this way. Go out to a restaurant you love. Go have some drinks you love. But I do think people should have the faith and confidence in themselves. It's identical to kids. What are they going to do if you don't have this video game? well, they're going to find something else to do. That kids are not going to ever sit and stare at a wall. If you take away their toys, they're going to go outside and pick up a stick. So to have the faith and confidence, like you're a social butterfly and you're going to be like, will you end up playing pickleball in the evenings? I don't know. It'll just be some, it'll be a transition into something else that's social. You're not going to lose being social. You're just going to learn new things you like to do that are social, I think.
Yes, I think you're right. But like if there was a shot that you were taking that made you have zero interest in cars, like, sure, you'd find something else, but like it brings you joy. It is something in your life that brings you joy. And for me, I can only speak for me, my love for food and restaurants and that culture is not problematic. It is not like I can't control myself. It's not like I, can't stop eating, or it's not. So so removing it is
scary,
unnecessary, Yeah,
and a little scary because it's what you know. I'm just saying, just like the drink thing reverse engineered the habitual part, I definitely think your life will just expand in different ways. Like that whatever gap is created, you'll fill with something different. And I'm optimistic it'll be also quite enjoyable.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how long I'm going to do it. I'm going to see after I look at the results of my blood work and stuff. Another thing that's like sort of potentially a negative. Again, I think it's because I am not doing it for food chatter and how so many people, which I do think this is a miracle for so many people, where they're like, I just used to think about food all the time and now I'm not, which is great. But for me, it almost has the opposite effect, because I'm like, I am thinking about food and that I'm not eating it. Like it is on my mind. It's like, oh my God, like I didn't eat, or I have to eat today. And what am I going to eat that like, is it going to be enough? That's not, and then I've been also I'm back in cooking videos. I've been watching so many cooking videos at night. And then I was like, oh God, like, is it an obsession? It just is it's feeling a little strange. It's feeling a little strange, where I'm like just watching these cooking videos and everything looks so good. And then that's like satisfying enough.
Yeah.
So I do have to monitor this.
But also, I think it would be hard for you to parse out what you're compensating for. So it's like, I don't know that your cooking video thing is very natural and seems obvious to think that's about food, but that cooking video thing might be about alcohol. You might normally be buzzed at 8:00, and that's calming and satiating you in a way that now that thing's not. So you're looking to regulate with this other thing. So it's like, yeah, it could feel like it's food related, but it might actually be alcohol related.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just so strange that it's food. Like, and because I'm watching these videos.
Food or is it videos, right? Like,
no, it's food.
Okay.
Well, it's both. I mean, it's all Allison Roman. I've just been rewatching all of her videos.
Yeah.
I miss her. But then I'm like, oh my God, this chicken piccata video. Oh my God, amazing. I am making that. And then I'll buy the stuff.
Yeah.
And then.
You don't want to eat chicken piccata. Like, you should just go insane. You should just start making lots of meals and chucking them out the window in your alley.
Yeah. I made a delicious peach galette.
What's a galette?
It's a freeform pie.
Okay. I don't know if I know what a freeform pie is. No pie tin is required?
No top of the pie. You've seen them. It's like there's crust sort of on the bottom and on the sides, but the fruit is exposed in the middle.
Like a quiche?
No, there's more crust than a quiche. It's like folded over the side.
Okay.
And then, but the middle of the fruit is exposed.
Not a quiche a
It was
Lorraine.
delicious.
Not an a Lorraine.
No, nothing to do with the quiche at all.
Okay, all right. Not an a Lorraine.
So, and I took it to Elizabeth and Andy's. We played Mahjong, and that was good because then I shared it with everyone, and it was a hit.
Oh, good. Can I just say there's a funny bit of human nature happening, which is like when you're gluttonous, you're ashamed. Like if you're like, yeah, I ate this whole fucking pie. I brought over this pie I made for everyone. They ate the whole thing. You'd be like ashamed. And then if you go and you make a pie and you barely eat something, you're ashamed. It's just like this, an original sin. We're just so built to like, I don't know, just beat the shit out of ourselves for no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if you make a pie and you have one bite, why, okay. There's no moral failing there.
No, it's not. I don't think for me it's about a moral failing so much as it's just like keeping an eye on this new experiment.
Do you think we'll start to see people of means die of starvation? I mean,
Honestly,
really,
yes.
yeah. I don't think it's inconceivable.
No, it's not. It's not to be. It's a very slippery eating disorder slope. It is. Like I can see, because you're seeing changes pretty quickly, and you're not hungry. And then your brain is also like, I like the way this looks, so I'm not. It is complicated.
I agree with you that it's complicated, but I'll hear about it because anytime I talk about ED, I'm in trouble. But I will say this: I think from the ED people I've talked to, it's much more about the control. Like even when we were talking to Nikki Glazer, it's like knowing that she can overcome hunger is the spike of adrenaline. It's that control over the urge is what's satisfying and addictive. Whereas you don't have an urge you're overcoming on the GLP-1. You're just not hungry.
Yeah, it's just that we should have hunger.
Yeah.
And I think this is what happens it can happen in eating disorders, where that's how it starts. It starts with like, I'm hungry, but I don't have to eat. I'm better than this craving or whatever. That's how it starts. But I do think you get to a point where you like food disgusts you. Yeah.
Yes, but I do think you still have the like reward of knowing that's hard. I don't know. I agree with you. But I also do think it's a bit, my guess is it's a bit different.
Yeah, it might be. I just think it's a slippery slope and to be paid attention to.
Well, I admire you for being honest about it because
I wasn't sure I was going to talk about it on here, but like, why not? That actually, the secrecy around it is what I have thought is a problem to begin with.
That's
where
the problem.
Where people are like, I'm just working out a ton. And then they're actually taking this, and other people are like, well, I'm working out and nothing's happening. Like, this does have an impact on your body. It does. And so I think it's important if your body is changing. I mean, look, I'm not telling everyone to be like so open and you have to shout anything from the rooftops. You can keep anything you want to yourself. But I do think that's part of the problem around it. And so I think saying like, yeah, I'm on this is important to say, especially if you're starting to look different.
Yeah, I'd say it's ethical.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I was just going to say, as your friend, you're being a little too hard on yourself, and just lighten up a little bit on my friend Monica, okay?
Do you think I am?
Yeah, you're like, you have all this weight, pun not intended. You have all this like heaviness around this topic, and I don't think you should at all.
Well, I think it's important if I'm going to be doing something that's altering my body and mind, potentially, to take it seriously. I just take it seriously. And I don't.
You seem to have a tiny bit of guilt about it, is what I feel like I'm detecting. And I don't think that's reasonable. I mean, it's reasonable. I don't think it's right.
I think you're right. I think I do have some guilt because I'm a small person.
Yeah.
And it feels kind of wild a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I guess, again, if there was like a shot that gave you perfect skin, no acne, and like someone with perfect skin was taking it, I guess I'd be like, why are you doing that? But actually, I probably wouldn't.
You
be like,
wouldn't,
"Why are
right?
doing
You go, who cares? Yeah,
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Yeah, I don't care. I
yeah.
mean,
But there's a lot of controversy around this topic.
I think there was a ton, and I think it's dissipating at one of the most rapid rates I've ever seen for good reason. You have Eric Topol, you have all these doctors. I think it's changing really quickly, and I think it's absurd. Yeah. You know, no one feels guilty that they take an aspirin for their headache and it works. There's this litany of things we take that help us. We put on eyeglasses. Well, someone with great eyesight, everyone's trying to do the best they can and be the best version of themselves. And the things that help people do that, I don't think they should. If it's not hurting another person, there shouldn't be any guilt around it.
Or you. It shouldn't hurt other people or you.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. And I'll keep people updated.
Yeah.
If they want to be updated.
Yeah. I think it's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Want to do some facts?
Okay, let's do some facts.
Do you think I should have worn my Superman outfit for the facts?
I think once was great. I think it was great. I mean, it's just...
Once was too many?
No, once was
Was
great.
perfect.
But this is a thing we talk about all the time. You don't
go back to the well.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. You did it, and it was great. But if you do it again, then it's like, oh, he just
this guy's
can't
always,
stop.
He thinks he's Superman.
Yeah, he now thinks he's Superman. I thought it was very cute that when you walked in, he said, "Oh, I fucked up on casting," or he was great. I really enjoyed him.
Yes, he was really, really unique.
Mm-hmm.
He has a very specific personality. He's very authentic. He really knows who he is, and he's so knowledgeable.
So knowledgeable, and he was open with us, which was great, and I think hard to do.
Yeah.
That's a lot he went through. I remember it.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't ask him this I'm sure he couldn't have answered it, but I was thinking when I was watching the trailer of Superman in the theater, like the things that are baked into if you direct one of these movies, you have to go to Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And they're so, they can be brutal. The Comic-Con world, who's like super, I guess, religious about the text, these cartoons and stuff.
Yes, very important.
People can get destroyed. Like, I don't know, like Sonic or something. I remember somehow there was some issue with Sonic. They were kind of revolted. Again, I personally can't relate to being obsessed with Sonic in a way that I would be furious that the movie did it wrong.
Yeah.
And that's light. These these comics.
I know. Well, because they're part of their soul.
Absolutely. But I was wondering, like, what the stress of directing one of those movies is, where you have to do something original. Why else do it?
Yeah.
And I was even thinking, like, oh, he brought the dog back. It's wild to see the dog in the trailer. That Superman has a dog.
Yeah.
But of course, he has the historical record that there were some comics where Superman had a dog.
Right.
But anyways, just the notion, like, you're trying to make decisions about what thing you want to make. And I just wonder if the chorus of what this really rabid fan base could turn on you at any minute, if that's stressful.
I'm sure it is. But I think that's why it requires someone who also cares so deeply about comics and about these characters and superheroes, because it's not just like, oh, we have a great filmmaker. Although maybe Nolan, I don't know Nolan's background. I don't know if he
got crazy about the
if he
Dark
loved
Knight.
comics.
Yeah, I don't either. But you're kind of obligated to become a historian. You're going to get challenged, and you got to have all the right answers. So it's like, in addition to directing this very hard to direct movie, you've got to kind of become a historian.
Yeah.
Or they'll call you out.
That's the Sonic issue. It was something about
So
his
I don't know
nose.
which one's which.
The left was the original, and he was too realistic for people.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
And
So the issue is too realistic.
I can relate for Harry Potter a bit.
Right.
When that movie was cast, it's always like, oh God, is this going to be okay? Or even just, is the world going to match? I mean, although maybe that's different. That's probably different because with comics, there are visuals.
Yeah.
So.
And by the way, you don't want to get locked into the visuals of someone's hand drawing from 50 years ago.
Right.
You want to do something spectacular and new and original.
Yeah, that's tricks.
So I think it's a tightrope.
It is. Okay. Is the Hall of Justice in Super Friends modeled after the Cincinnati Union Terminal? Yes. He said DC's Justice League was way before Marvel's Avengers. Justice League was created in 1960 and Avengers was created in 63.
All right, so 3 years earlier.
3 years. He said St. Louis is the only big city in the U.S. whose population is smaller now than in 1900. So in 1900, the city of St. Louis was 575,238. And in 2020, 301,578.
Wow.
But Cleveland also. Cleveland, 1900, 381,968. 2020, 372,624. Okay, we mentioned the trolley problem, and I wanted to remind people about the trolley problem. The trolley problem is a thought experiment in ethics that poses a moral dilemma involving a runaway trolley. The core scenario involves a trolley headed towards 5 people and the option to switch it to another track where it will kill only 1 person. This problem explores the complexities of moral decision-making, particularly when faced with conflicting outcomes. That's like a utilitarian
Thought experiment.
Yes.
But then you get into the tricky scenario where if it's 5 top brass in the Nazi party versus Louis Pasteur on the left.
And saving Louis.
It's not as simple as 5-1.
It's really not.
I'd have no problem throwing that switch, would you?
Killing
the one. The breakdown is if you ask people what should happen, everyone's like, well, the one person should get killed. Then if you put them in a situation where they have to operate the switch, it goes down. I could easily throw the switch.
I can't.
You just walk away from it and be like, fate wanted these 5 people to die.
It's not about wanting. Like, I don't think like things are meant to, I don't think it was meant to be that those 5 people. But yes, my intervention is I can't live with.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to happen the way it's going to happen.
But it's how you frame it, right? Because your intervention would mean you were culpable for 1 death. But if you insist on yourself, no, I'm culpable for 5 if I don't act.
I know.
It's like kind of how you frame it.
It's just that person was not going to be killed.
Right. They were on the track that would need a diversion.
I'm inflicting it on that person to save others. I can't do that.
You can't do it. Yeah. I hope if I'm the one person, you're in charge. And I hope if I'm in one of the 5 people, they let me pick. That's what I hope.
I mean, I guess if I'm in the group of 5.
Mm-hmm. You'd be like, dude, throw it. What are you talking about? There's 5 of us.
I don't know if I would feel like that. And we've talked about this. I don't like the notion. I mean, yeah, if we make it Nazis and Louis Pasteur, that's very specific. But like, I don't like the notion that one person's more valuable than another person in general.
Yeah, no one likes that notion.
Well, some do, like, or not, they don't like it, but they believe it.
Yeah, I believe that for sure. I think the value between Jeffrey Dahmer and Benjamin Franklin is very different values.
I agree, but those are specific people, and I'm more talking about categories. Like, people think this business person is better off than this,
it gets immediately to you
or
not having
parents.
kids, I think. Yeah.
This is the conversation. Like, I should die sooner than a parent.
Yeah, but you've extrapolated a lot. You've gone to like what the worst case scenario of that evaluation would be. Like, well, this one person has a family and these 5 people are single.
Well, no, I'm just this is just a deviation of the
potential outcome.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know anything about these people, but it's all a question of placing value on people.
Yes.
And we don't know anything about these trolley men
That's right.
and women.
That's right. You'd be regretful if you saved the 5, killed the 1, and they go, by the way, that was the top brass of the SS. And the guy you killed was Gandhi.
Okay. Well, I didn't kill
gotta-
anyone. What I would do, probably, but I would, I would kill 5 adults to protect a kid.
I don't know if that's the right call.
I can't, I
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
have a kid get killed.
Yeah, we have. It's rightly so. We weight kids above.
So is it different for you with gender? Is it?
If there were 3 men and 3 women, I would kill the 3 men.
No, but what if it's the 5 men and 1 woman?
Well, this is great because now that's why these experiments are great. They force you to put a numeric quantifiable value on
That's
things.
what I'm saying. It's
because
crazy.
I don't think 5 to 1, no.
Mhm.
1 to 1 for sure. I pick the man to die. 2 to 1 is hard. I might kill 2 men over one women's, but I wouldn't do 3.
Yeah.
So then you've backed me into saying I think women are twice as valuable as men, but I don't know that I stand by that statement. But in practice, that might be the case. How about you? Would you kill a man or over a woman?
If it's
You go,
if
one
it's
of them's
1 to
going to die.
1,
Yeah. What they go, one of these people's going to die.
and I have to pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd kill the man.
Yeah.
And as long as they're strangers, it's all so horrible.
Yeah.
But look, this is why, when people are doing these rankings and it's like you're a single person, you should obviously die. Then they're like the father should die. I think that's what most people would say. If you're ranking, it's like single person goes, then father goes. The one to protect is the mother.
Yeah. 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 I stand by that.
I don't. I mean, I know bad mothers
Yeah.
and good fathers. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way to. I know bad parents.
Yeah, of course.
Like,
maybe
it's-
better if all the parents got wiped off and they
I
went to live
mean-
with aunt and uncle.
That's right.
Okay.
Anyway. All right. Well, that's it.
Those were the last of the facts?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I love you.
Love you.